All right. So I just have a little bit of a updates I want to share with you. So thank you to the incredible supporters, the dedicated staff, the committed board members, consumers, and the families that are in the room with us today. Your commitment fuels us, allowing us to keep empowering people with disabilities to live, work, play in our communities. I really enjoyed this luncheon for the pure fact that it's my chance to brag a little bit about the cool things we've been doing here at RAMP over the last year and to give you a little sneak peek on what is happening next. So let's dive in, starting with our new name and logo. A few months ago, we made the decision to change our name from RAMP with the tagline, No Limits, to RAMP Disability Resources and Services. This was a pretty big shift since we've been in existence since 1981 as RAMP, but I want to explain why we made it. But first, I want to have a little showing of some hands. How many of you, and there's no right or wrong answer, so don't be shy, think that one of our primary services involves building ramps? Did anyone ever think about that? Maybe it's okay if you did. And how many of you think we mainly serve people with physical disabilities? Any hands? Okay, I see some. All right. Well, if you raise your hand, you are not alone. Many people assume we primarily focus on physical disabilities and that we build a whole lot of ramps. But on the contrary, last year alone, 63% of the people we served had non-physical disabilities, such as cognitive, developmental, mental health, and/or sensory disability. Our new name, RAMP Disability Resources and Services, more fully captures the broad spectrum of support we provide, and we believe that this rebranding better reflects the full continuum of services we offer and the diverse range of people we serve. And yes, it is true, we recently received state funding, thanks to Eric Brown and a bunch of really strong advocates. We just started building ramps and performing other home modification, but it's honestly a very small snippet of what we do. Another major milestone internally this past year was our organizational restructuring. We previously had been organized by our county offices in the counties that we serve, and we decided to create specialized teams for each program. This shift allowed us to sharpen our focus on each service area and reduce the number of administrative roles. We then were able to reinvest those resources where they matter most, the people out serving from RAMP. As a result, we were immediately able to add two crucial positions. First, we hired a new youth education advocate, which meant that families no longer had to wait for critical services. Second, we added a youth services specialist to help students age 14 and up build essential pre-employment skills and teach the curriculum in the classrooms. These roles are helping us meet rising needs and provide quicker, more focused support to the youth we serve. I am incredibly proud of how our staff has embraced change, because we usually don't like a lot of change at work. Many of our team members have shared how much more connected and empowered they feel, focusing on their area of expertise without juggling multiple programs. In fact, several have shared that they now feel more connected to the overall mission, which helps drive their work forward. Of course, our achievements do not happen in isolation. They are made possible by the incredible community partnerships who continually support and strengthen our mission. I'm going to highlight just a few. First, Rockford Public Schools and RAMP were selected this past year to pilot the Illinois Pathway to Partnership project. This project aims to improve transition outcomes, competitive integrated employment opportunities, and independent living options for students with disabilities ages 10 through 24 across the state. Here locally, we are going to be working with OSF St. Anthony Medical Center to create a minimum of 2 career pathways for youth and adults seeking jobs through RAMP. If your business has a high turnover position, we might be able to help you out, so please reach out after today. We are expanding our employer partnerships to offer an array of career paths to the students and would love to work with you. Next, our collaboration with the multiple school districts continue to grow, and thank you to all the school staff that attended today. We provided our curriculums in Winnebago, South Beloit, Belvedere, North Boone, Freeport, Pearl City, Lena, and DeKalb school districts this past year. They welcomed our disability awareness curriculum into their classroom, impacting over 900 students last year alone. These students are now more empowered and equipped to advocate for themselves and others, making ways for, again, a more inclusive society. Finally, this past September, we held our first Accessible Adventures Field Day for all. It was an event that we had at Lovings Park. In collaboration with the Rockford Park District and the Friends of John Foundation, we brought together service providers and community members for a day of accessible recreation. Over 100 people enjoyed canoe rides, allowing many people to enjoy the freedom and the excitement of the water for the very first time. This event was an unforgettable reminder of how powerful it is to create spaces where everyone can participate fully and equally. While we can't name every person, business, and organization that helps make our work possible, please know that we deeply value your partnership. These partnerships have a profound and far-reaching impact that is beyond measure, and together we are breaking down barriers, increasing access, and building a society where everyone belongs. Thank you again for your support, your passion and belief in our mission, and together we are creating a world where equality isn't just a goal, but a reality for everyone. Let's keep driving this mission forward, one resource, one service, and one person at a time. So thank you. All right, I just have one more thing before I introduce today's speakers. So today, we would like to take a moment to recognize someone very special to our organization. A longtime board member and dedicated volunteer has reached a significant milestone at RAMP. RAMP is honored to celebrate Arliss Hendershot Love for her remarkable 25 years as a service as RAMP's board member. Arliss has been a true pioneer for women in broadcasting long before she began her work as the development director at Milestone. Her tenacity and perseverance have been a blessing to our board and staff, and words cannot express how grateful we are for your contributions. On behalf of the entire board and staff, I want to extend our deepest gratitude to you, Arliss. Your dedication and leadership have made an enduring impact on our organization and the communities we serve. And I see you found your small token of appreciation.
Thank you, yes.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, and it's, I have a stubborn streak. Down at ISU in this past spring, they called me a force of nature, which I guess I can be, but it's very nice when it's recognized that I use it in a positive force. So thank you, and it has been totally my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so last but not least, I have the pleasure of introducing to all of you today's guest speakers. Today we are privileged to have with us Pam and Colleen Marr. Pam Marr has written numerous chapters in life as a seasoned entrepreneur and a community leader, a founder of KMK Media Group, and has been deeply involved in nonprofit work. This includes founding a Down syndrome support group and co-founding Gigi's Playhouse here in Rockford. She has received numerous accolades for her contributions, including the Chamber's Small Business of the Year Award. Pam's daughter, Colleen, is writing her story as a trailblazer in her own right, as the first person with Down syndrome to work as a paraprofessional in a public school here in Illinois. Colleen, who graduated from Judson University, exemplifies the impact of inclusive education and community support for one person's success. Together, Pam and Colleen are a true example of how every story matters and every act of kindness counts. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Pam and Colleen.
I brought a step stool here for Colleen to stand on, and I'm wondering if I should use it too. Yeah. I'm good, Colleen? Is that good? Okay, all right. Okay. Actually, I am going to use it. Sorry. I can see everyone now. There we go. Hopefully you can see me better too. Hello, thank you so much for coming today, and thank you to RAMP for inviting Colleen and me to speak to all of you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our story. I had a storybook upbringing. I was blessed. I had the traditional nuclear family. 2 married parents, my dad worked, my mom stayed home, I had a sister who loved me and sometimes hated me. Typical, normal, very predictable. I was in choir, student council, school plays, got into my college of choice, met my husband there, got a job, got another job, got married, bought a house, got a dog, and had a baby with Down syndrome. Wait, what was that last part? Had a baby with Down syndrome. That seems a bit out of place in my storybook tale, doesn't it? In fact, when it happened in 2002, it was so out of place in my mind, in my soul, and in the essence of my type A, I'm a planner personality, that I sucked in my breath. I could not believe it. Now, it didn't help that the young OBGYN who delivered the news to us of the suspected diagnosis wasn't my own doctor. It didn't help that no one suspected the condition of our newborn at birth. And it didn't help that our carefully chosen and wonderful pediatrician said even he wasn't sure if indeed she had Down syndrome. We wouldn't know for sure until the genetic testing came back 5 days later. It was an eternity, as you can imagine. This wasn't a chapter that I had anticipated writing in my carefully planned life story. It was, however, the first time that I advocated for my daughter. This time, I advocated to God. Let her be normal. Let this not be happening to us. And by the way, I don't even know what Down syndrome is. All of those, Colleen's laughing. She hasn't heard this speech before, so we'll see where the funny parts are. All of those blood tests that I had when I was pregnant to check for genetic disorders all came back negative. I found out later that those screening tests are only 60% accurate, positive or negative. My poor husband was dealing with his own shock and grief. We cried together, we prayed together, and we learned the diagnosis together 5 days later. Our firstborn had Down syndrome. I then did what any other fierce mama bear would do. I dug in hard. I spent hours on listservs with discussion groups online, reading comments from other parents. The internet didn't exist, of course, in its current form 22 years ago, so information was a bit more limited. It was also not terribly objective in some cases. Some parents swore by nutritional supplements. Others were convinced that certain educational products were the key to their child's development and success. Others gave excellent viewpoints on therapies, when to start them, what to watch for. I read books. I called a few other local parents. I talked to local organizations to help us move forward. Gigi's Playhouse didn't exist here in Rockford at that point in time, so I formed a small parent support group, family support group, to exchange ideas with other parents. My husband returned to the office, and after 7 weeks at home on semi-maternity leave, I returned to my office, to a business I owned, a job I loved, and a door that shut so that I could quietly pump breast milk twice a day, and grateful for the flexibility in my schedule to be there for Colleen when I needed to be. We also had a very understanding and helpful grandma type of babysitter. And so we were fortunate, but we were still struggling to keep it all together. Not too long after her birth, the endless parade of appointments began. Geneticist, cardiologist, developmental therapist, health department, neonatal follow-up clinic, speech therapist, physical therapist, occupational therapist, and the list went on and on. The norm became 3 appointments a week, and typically during weekday working hours. We kept that up for 3 years. Speech therapy was initially feeding therapy, how to process foods by controlling her tongue and lips, both of which need strengthening for speech. Fine motor skills included picking up Cheerios. Physical therapy was using arms and legs, crawling, pulling to a stand, and eventually walking, all major milestones for every child. It just took Colleen a little longer and with more support to do it. I quickly learned there are not enough therapists in this world, and some are far better than others, just like any other profession. I learned to network and to trust other parents. Children with Down syndrome are all a bit different in how the diagnosis affects them, but all have low muscle tone, intellectual disability, speech issues, fine and gross motor skill issues, and many have heart, thyroid, and ear issues. Colleen had all of those. When she was just a few weeks old, I began advocating to our network of specialists. I asked a case manager what she saw in her work that made the biggest difference in the advancement of a child with Down syndrome. She said she remembered one little girl with Down syndrome excelling, and the only difference that she could really pinpoint was that that little girl was receiving music therapy. So I asked, how do we get music therapy? And within a month, Colleen had begun music therapy. She loved it, and I think it jump-started her continued love of music and performance to this day. Some of the advice I saw online included introducing your child to sign language, as speech is typically very delayed. When Colleen was just a few months old, we began to use sign language videos and educational videos that taught sight words. By the time she entered preschool, at age 3, she knew her letters, her numbers, more than 30 sight words, and she could sign nearly 100 words. She could learn. It just took a little time, and it happened a little differently. 25 years ago, the typical educational path for a child with Down syndrome was to start public preschool at age 3, most often in a self-contained classroom, one that had a small number of students, and all of those students had special needs. But we'd done our homework. When Colleen was a newborn, we began attending special education conferences in Chicago. We knew nothing about special education law. These conferences helped parents learn about the public education system and how to advocate for their child with special needs. It's hard to advocate if you don't know your rights, but I discovered it's not something that's spoon-fed to you. You need to seek it out. We figured out what a fair and appropriate education was and how to use the term least restrictive environment in advocating for what we knew would be the best learning environment for Colleen to achieve her goals. I let it be known from the first time my foot hit that school hallway that Colleen would be in a regular preschool classroom with her typical peers so she could interact with them and learn from them. She could be pulled out for special therapies and tutoring. The room of educational professionals was a little taken aback, I think, but everything was written into her educational plan. And since it was readily apparent that we were behind Colleen 110%, the school professionals were almost always behind us too, becoming some of our fiercest advocates and supporters for years to come. It's also typical for a child with Down syndrome to get an IQ test at a relatively young age. I refused it year after year. That hard number sitting isolated on a page doesn't tell the full story of who Colleen is and what she can accomplish. Don't define my daughter by a number. Define her capabilities after you get to know her and let her show you what she can do. We advocated hard for Colleen to have a dedicated paraprofessional throughout the day to support her. For those of you in education, you know that paraprofessionals, teachers' aides, are very hard to come by, and it was never a question, though, if Colleen would get one. Each school's educational team knew we expected it, and it was Colleen's right to have one and best supporting her in the least restrictive learning environment. Colleen thrived in preschool and elementary school. We were blessed to have good teachers, good administrators, and good paras. Colleen found her groove using her love of music and theater to audition for West Middle School's Creative and Performing Arts program known as Kappa. She was the first person with Down syndrome to be accepted. I remember the director of special education for RPS 205 at the time told me that Colleen's acceptance into the Creative and Performing Arts program was announced at a district special ed staff meeting, and everyone stood up and cheered. The educators celebrate their students' successes too. As a side note, a wonderful man who you may have seen on the news as having recently passed away, James Crow, a teacher, initially told us about the Kappa program and encouraged Colleen to audition. If you don't speak up, you never know the impact that you might have on someone's future. Colleen joined her high school bowling team and cheerleading squad. She was the first person with Down syndrome to do so, and I consistently felt blessed that she was born in 2002 rather than in 1952. Educators, coaches, and peers were very accepting, often helping advocate for her and contributing to her story. I was cleaning out some papers the other day, and I found an agenda that I brought to an educational meeting with Colleen's school team when she was just 8 years old. I typically typed up a 1 to 2 page summary for every educational or IEP meeting that we went to. I thought it was important to make sure that the school team was aware of our version of Colleen's story, our perspective on her challenges and goals as her parents. At the bottom of that summary that I brought to the educational meeting when Colleen was 8 years old, I'd written a statement that I carried through to her educational meeting agendas for many years to come. It said, "Our goal for Colleen is to earn a high school diploma, go to college, get a job, live independently, and get married if she chooses to do so." It was a reminder that what we're talking about and focused on at age 8 will influence Colleen's life at age 18 and beyond. Colleen took lots of lessons and tried all kinds of things: dance lessons, piano lessons, gymnastics, Girl Scouts, horseback riding, swimming, karate, the list goes on and on. Most programs were very welcoming, and some were better fits than others. When she was 13, Colleen took babysitting classes at a local hospital, Swedish American, with her sister. Colleen loved working with kids. We reached out to the Discovery Center Museum to see if she could train to volunteer there, again working with kids. She started at age 14. When she was a sophomore in high school, Colleen began a vocational internship at a daycare center. It got cut short, though, due to COVID. We had a plan for Colleen, and COVID messed it up. Schools and businesses were slow to restart pre-pandemic internships, but we weren't going to wait. We created our own internship option, reaching out to Colleen's public preschool to see if they would be open to having Colleen help in a classroom. They were wonderful and very open to it, helping Colleen come full circle to where she had started. The teachers and therapists at Fairview Early Childhood, who had worked with Colleen 15 years earlier, could now see that the fruits of their labor had blossomed and developed into the young lady who was following in their footsteps as an educator. They had contributed to her development and success. They should be just as proud. Colleen interned part-time at the preschool for 2 years and then interned at a Head Start program. In the meantime, Colleen also began a real job for money, working at Beefaroo, like a lot of people have. She worked there on and off for 6 years, still does occasionally if she has time in the summer, loves making shakes, helping behind the counter, running food to the drive-thru, and cleaning the dining room. The staff at Beefaroo are very accommodating and a wonderful employer. Since then, several others with Down syndrome are working at various Beefaroo locations in our community. At age 18, Colleen got a paid summer job working at a children's program with our awesome Rockford Park District. She worked there for 2 summers, and I discovered the opportunity by accident when reaching out to a woman I knew who worked at the Park District. They had just gotten a grant that made it possible. Sometimes timing is everything. Remember that note that I wrote on my summary for Colleen's educational meeting when she was 8 years old? The one about the goal of her attending college? When she was a freshman in high school, we went on our first college visit. We visited 5 college programs over the next 2 years, all programs that were specifically for people with disabilities and all within a 2-hour radius of our home because Colleen didn't want to live too far from home. I was happy about that. We talked with Colleen about considering a job as a daycare worker or as a paraprofessional working with preschoolers. She said she would love that, so I did some research on what it would take. Colleen would either need an associate's degree, which probably was not realistic, or she needed to take the paraprofessional exam, which had significant math and reading portions. Right, Colleen? Yeah. We sought out a tutor who worked with Colleen remotely. We were still at the end of COVID. Worked with Colleen remotely for several months on the computer twice a week to prepare her for both the reading and math portions of that paraprofessional test. I asked our local testing facility if there were any accommodations for people with disabilities in taking the para test. Yes, there were. Colleen could have extra time, and her tutor could read the questions to her out loud with a test proctor in the room observing. When Colleen was 19 years old, she took that paraprofessional exam and she passed on her first try. Yay! We then applied for and Colleen received her para license, which we tucked away for the next 2 years while Colleen attended college. Colleen chose a 2-year on-campus program at Judson University in Elgin called the RISE program. She lived on campus in the dorms. She loved it because it was close to home and had a concentration in education and a great atmosphere and culture for learning for her. She applied, interviewed, and got in. We did what any family then might do, and we looked for scholarships. She applied to several, and Colleen received one from a Texas-based nonprofit specifically for people with Down syndrome. And then she also received one from our wonderful Community Foundation of Northern Illinois, given by the retired Boone and Winnebago Teachers Association supporting future educators. Colleen loved Judson. She completed internships at an after-school program nearby and learned how to live in a dorm by herself, doing laundry, cleaning, managing her time, and getting her work done. Just what we want for any college student, right? They helped her set goals, and she bowled with the campus bowling team, and she performed in a couple of musicals on campus. The summer between her 2 years of college, Colleen interned at the Early Childhood Department at Rockford Public Schools, an office setting, and she really liked it. The woman who gave her that opportunity and a chance to get her foot in the door at the school system as an employee was Kim Nelson, the executive director of Early Childhood, who is here today. She and her team, plus those in human resources who are also here today, encouraged Colleen to keep in touch and apply for a paraprofessional position in the spring of this year when she graduated from her college program. Colleen and I worked together on filling out the application. It took a few hours. It certainly helped that Colleen was seeking a job in a field where there is a desperate need for applicants. It also helped that Colleen brings added diversity to any workplace in which she works. The district's HR team did a great job pairing Colleen with the right school, principal, and teachers. Her wonderful principal is here today, too. When Colleen was home on spring break in March, I drove Colleen to the job interview, and she was hired on the spot. We both cried. This was the culmination of so many years of preparation, hard work, and a happy ending to the story that we wrote in our minds and hearts more than 20 years ago. Colleen loves her job, and she'll tell you about it in a minute, working with 4-year-olds at RPS 205's Summerdale Early Childhood Center. Colleen would consider that a very happy ending, right, Colleen? Yeah. But the sequel to the story is a chapter that's currently being written partially by Colleen herself as she continues to pursue her goals. In July, she moved out of our house and is renting a small place 5 minutes from our home. The first time she ran the dishwasher, it was without detergent. Remember that? Yeah, is that what she did, Gabrielle? She goes, Mom. Yeah, sorry, I outed you a little bit there. But she doesn't do that anymore. Yeah. She's learning how often she needs to take the garbage out so that her kitchen doesn't smell, right? She's doing her own laundry. That's the last bad one, sorry. This is why I didn't read it to you ahead of time. She's doing her own laundry. She's doing her own cleaning. She packs her lunches for work. She makes rice, she makes noodles, pizza, she heats up some leftovers from our kitchen, right? It's a work in progress. We are very proud of Colleen and confident she will continue advocating for herself, using support from RAMP, which we've called on several times in the past couple of years. We're very grateful for them. And we know that Colleen will take a larger role in writing the chapters of her own story moving forward. Colleen, do you want to come up in just a few minutes, talk about what you have to say? Yeah. Okay, come on up. You'll be just fine.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, hopefully I won't fall here. Okay.
Hopefully you don't fall off the stool.
Okay.
Are you gonna take that off?
Okay.
Got it? Okay.
Mhm.
Are you good?
Yep, I'm good. All right, let's do it.
All right. Hit it.
Thank you. Hello. My name is Colleen Marr, and I am 22 years old. And I was born on my mom's birthday. Every year, we get to celebrate together. We really celebrated last year when I turned 21. So, I discovered strawberry Malibu. My mom is always more excited for my birthday than her own. I love good stories about our prince and princesses who fall in love, get married, and live in the castle happily ever after. I'm now writing my own story of what I want my life to be like as an adult. My mom says, when I was 8 or 9 years old, she and my dad told me that I had Down syndrome. Having Down syndrome makes me learn a little slower and need extra support. That's a part of my story that I can't change. My classes in school were in classrooms with other typical kids until high school, when I took some regular classes, some co-taught classes, and some special ed classes. I was in National Honor Society and graduated with a 3.75 GPA. I was in the top 15% of my class of more than 500 students. I was the first person with Down syndrome to join my high school bowling and cheerleading team. I tried out for Rock Valley College's Starlight Theater and have been in 6 summer shows. Maybe you saw me in Newsies? My mom and dad never told me I couldn't do something, and I told myself that I can do it. So that is self-advocacy. Like when I wanted to learn how to drive a car. My mom worked so hard at my IEP meetings and with the school district to make sure that I could try. I took a driver's education class in high school and passed the written test on my 3rd try. Then came the behind the wheel. Let's just say it was an epic fail after my pair of guide sticks riding in the back seat. And I hit a small tree with my parents' minivan. It was a small tree, but not a small repair bill. I'm now waiting for self-driving cars. When I was a freshman in high school, I started doing what everyone else was doing, like looking for colleges. So I wanted to work with kids. My mom and I thought I should study and take the paraprofessional exam closer to high school graduation than to wait until I finished college. That way, the reading and math stuff will still be in my head. It worked! I passed! I still wanted to go to college like everyone else my age. Not many people realize there are several great college programs for people with disabilities. I like living on my own in a dorm room at Judson University with people there to support me if I needed it. I took classes in self-advocacy, childcare, independent living, physical fitness, and the skills I would need to live on my own. Judson University, my schooling, and all my jobs and internships have prepared me for my current job as a paraprofessional at Summerdale Early Childhood in Rockford. And I love it! I knew what kind of parent I wanted to be because I'd so many parents myself over the years. Some were fabulous, others weren't as good, like the one who was on his phone all the time during class. When I told my mom and she told my case manager, the parent denied it and called me a liar. I had another parent who did everything for me and gave me candy all the time. I love that. But my mom didn't. My parents supported me through it all, always pushing me to speak up when I have something to say. They have faith in me, so much faith, that they let me move out. In July, I moved into my own place that I am renting. Luckily, it was 5 minutes from their house, so it's pretty convenient. My parents spent a lot of time getting it ready and making sure I'm safe and knew what to do in certain situations. I do my own cleaning, laundry, and meal prep. Plus, I get some dinner leftovers from Mom. We've now been working on booking my own paratransit ride and ordering prescriptions online. Next is ordering groceries online. I'm also working with RAM staff to help me figure out how to report my paychecks to Social Security. RAM is there to help people like me to live on my own, have a job, and not always have to rely on my parents. RAM helps people advocate for themselves and help those with disabilities to find jobs and places to live. We need RAMP. I need RAMP. I've told my stories to hundreds of students at high schools and students studying to become teachers at Rockford University. Now I'm telling it to you. Thank you for letting me and my mom share our stories. Thank you for supporting RAMP.
You don't need this tool. We were going to use it later.
No, you can't have my phone number. Pam and Colleen, thank you so much. Another round of applause. What an uplifting story. To Jackie and Amy, thank you so much for letting me be just a small part of RAMP. I enjoyed so much, and I plan on being a part of it for longer years. A reminder, the silent auction is closed, and if you are a winner, you need to grab those items on your way out, and you can make your donations back there. Don't forget this thingamajig with the QR codes. You can still make a donation that way. We have the plants on the tables, $15, QR codes. Don't just take them and run. But please leave a donation. We thank you for that. Thank you so much for being here. How about a round of applause for the Tabala Event Center? Greenfire, thank you so much. And thank you for helping out RAMP. We'll see you out there. Don't forget your items and check out. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.